Hey everybody, welcome. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. For those of you who haven't watched my videos before, I generally cover war games. That's my main area of interest. But the game I'm going to share today caught my interest mainly because of the theme and also because it's a built from the ground up solitaire game, which is kind of my thing. So it's designed by A.J. Porfirio and published by Ryder Games, and it is Hostage Negotiator. It's a little solitaire game. You are the specialist that the police call in when lives are at stake. An abductor with ruthless demands has taken hostage innocent people, and it's your job to bring them out alive and bring the hostage taker to justice. Sounds pretty exciting. So anyway, let's get to the table and have a look at Hostage Negotiator. Let's start by having a look at everything that comes with the base game. You got your game box, and as you can see, it's primarily a card game. The game comes with 3 different hostage takers, or abductors, with their different major demands for release of the hostages, escape demands, 2 different kinds of terror cards, a second in command for each hostage taker, a play mat for the player called the tableau, along with markers for the threat level and the number of conversation points available, conversation cards that you, the player, will be using to negotiate with the abductor each turn, several wooden meeples to represent the hostages, along with 5 custom dice. Each hostage taker has his own card, and on the back of those cards is a little background story that describes their motives for taking the hostages. And on the front of the card gives you the conditions that the hostage taker starts the game with. Each hostage taker comes with their own set of special demands. Now, the starting demands, for example, for Arcane are 1 major demand and 1 of the 4 escape demands, and they'll be chosen randomly. This section of the card also denotes any special rules that may take place during gameplay for that particular hostage taker. It denotes how many hostages the abductor starts the game with, and at what level the threat is at the beginning of the game. The hostage taker's major demands can vary depending on the hostage taker. They may want money, they may want a supply of weapons, he may want a release of his imprisoned buddies, and there will always be an escape demand. And those escape demands could be anything: armored truck, secret passage, a helicopter, a bus. There's 2 different types of terror cards: standard terror cards and pivotal events. Each game you will shuffle up, but then only deal out 10 of these, so you're never sure what you're going to get in the terror deck. And they can range. You'll be turning one of these over each turn. You may have to kill a hostage. You may need to draw another card, thereby making the game move along faster than you may like. You may have to increase the threat level. Additionally, if there's unrevealed demands, you may have to take a secondary action. The hostage taker may issue additional demands. You may have to make a threat roll. All kinds of different things to keep the plot moving forward in your game. They also serve as sort of a time clock. When you run out of terror cards, the game is over. Additionally, there are 6 different pivotal event cards. You'll only use 1 of these at the bottom of the terror deck each game. These terror cards are these pivotal event cards are the climactic event at the end of your story, if you haven't managed to accomplish your goals yet. And they're occasionally very severe. The tableau is where we keep track of the most important stats for the game. You have the threat level, which will go down and up depending on the success or failure of the conversations that you have with the hostage taker. The more successful you are, the more the threat level will be reduced, at which point successful conversation outcomes may result in releasing hostages. The higher the threat level goes, the fewer dice you get to roll, and hostages will start being killed with continued failure. Conversation points are the currency that you're going to be earning and spending from turn to turn, buying new conversation cards. You'll be rolling dice a lot in this game, and it comes with customized dice. 1 through 4 results are failures, with 1 through 3 simply being blank. 5s and 6s rolled count as successes. 4s have this special symbol, meaning that it could possibly be converted into a success, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. And finally, we have several different types of conversation cards that have different effects and cost different amounts of conversation points. Now, the front of these conversation cards will have a speech bubble at the top that kind of give an indication of what the card's purpose is. It will have threat roll results. For example, on this card, if you don't roll any successes, the abductor escapes. 1 success, 3 hostages are released, the threat level increases, the conversation ends. And with 2 successes, 4 hostages are released, the abductor is eliminated, and the conversation ends. They all have different threat checks on them. Also down at the bottom there's some flavor text to just add to the theme of the game, and then down here is the cost in conversation points that you'll have to spend to purchase these cards for successive turns. Okay, we've just about got the game set up. It only takes minutes. We've got our hostage taker, Arcane, here, and his second in command is underneath in case our abductor is eliminated before all the hostages are released. We start off with 7 hostages in the hostage pool. The threat level is 4. We've chosen one of Arcane's major demands at random and placed it face down, and also an escape demand at random and placed it face down. We build our terror deck, starting with one of the special terror pivotal event cards, a single one at random, and then you're going to shuffle up and then deal out 10 of the standard terror cards and place them on top. And that's our terror deck for the game. And we've got all of our different conversation cards grouped together by type in ascending order of cost. If you're challenged for space, you can just put them all in a single stack and go through them when necessary. All of the 0 cost cards are in our starting hand. That's what we begin our game with, and now we're ready to begin. Let's work through the different phases of a turn, and you can see how the game works. Now, each turn starts off with the conversation phase. You're going to take the cards that you're holding in your hand, and you're going to start playing them and taking threat rolls to try and reduce the threat level, increase the amount of conversation points you've earned, perhaps maybe get some of the hostages released. And right off the bat, you're presented with difficult decisions here. Your starting 0 value cards that you have at the beginning of the game are actually all pretty good cards, so you're not starting out powerless here. For example, here we could try to kind of go for a double and reduce the threat level and gain a conversation point. We could try to simply go for conversation points here with small talk, or we can try and reveal one of the abductor's demands and gain conversation points. It's early in the game, and it's always a good idea to get those demands revealed as early as possible. So we'll go ahead and give this a shot. So we're trying to find out the abductor's demands. We're going to play the "What are your demands" card out of our hand, and we're going to do a threat roll. The current threat level is 4, and as we can see by the graphic on our tableau, that means we get to roll 2 dice. 2 successes. That's the best possible result. That means we can both reveal one of the abductor's demands and take 2 conversation points. We've gained 2 conversation points. And let's reveal Arcane's major demand. He wants the release of the fugitives. Now, these demand cards give you options. For example, here we can spend 4 conversation points to concede the demand during any conversation. And this gives you an advantage. During the next spend phase, you may take any 2 cards from the available area into your hand without paying their cost. But conceding demands, even minor ones, always comes with a penalty. So if this demand is conceded, anytime the threat level increases, increase it 1 additional level. And it remains in play until the abductor is either eliminated or captured. Well, we're not ready to concede to his demands yet, but we have revealed it. Now there's something about the card play here that I want to show you. What if you had rolled a failure on that card? It would increase the threat level by 1. What if you had rolled a 4? Well, what's this symbol mean here? It means this die can, at the player's discretion, if he's able to, be changed to a success. Well, how do we do that? Well, in the player's hand, you look at your cards and you'll notice on the back of the conversation cards are some symbols here. Cards can be played face down. They can be played one at a time face down to simply gain a conversation point, or a player can take 2 cards out of his hand and convert a 4 to a success. So as you can see, the ability to convert a failure into a success or cash in cards for a conversation point really adds some depth to the card play here. Let's go ahead and we'll play another card. And this is our discard pile. We'll go ahead and play Keep Cool. We're going to try to bring that threat level down and perhaps give us another conversation point to go with it. If we fail, we lose a conversation point. We're still rolling 2 dice. All right, 1 success. So that means we get to reduce the threat level by 1. Threat level goes from 4 to 3. Now, if this were later on in the game, and the threat level were already down here in the saved area, if we had managed to reduce the threat level again, for every threat level you're able to reduce beyond the S area, you would release 1 hostage instead. Likewise, if the threat level is really high, for every raise in the threat level, once the marker gets to here, you would instead have to kill a hostage. But for this turn, we just reduced the threat level to 3, so we're a step closer to where we want to be. Let's see if we can't pick up some more conversation points. We'll make some small talk. and roll to see if we can increase our conversation point total. Now, if we fail, we still gain a conversation point, but then the conversation will end right there, and we can do nothing else. One success. All right, well, we pick up 2 conversation points. And I think we'll go ahead and play our other Keep Cool card face down, and we'll cash it in for an additional conversation point. So we've played 4 cards out of our hand, and we've been fairly successful. I think I want to go ahead and keep these last 2 cards in my hand available to me for the next turn. So what we're going to go ahead and do is end the conversation now and move on to the next phase, which is the spend phase. Now, the spend phase, the second phase of the turn, is your opportunity to use your conversation points to go shopping in the pool of available cards that you have to purchase. Now, you can see we have 5 conversation points to spend, so we'll look over the cards in the pool and see what might be most useful to us in our next turn. Okay, I'm liking this minor extraction card. This will give us an opportunity to free at least maybe 1 hostage and get us kind of a jump start. It's kind of a risk, though. If I fail the threat roll on the minor extraction card, I'll have to kill a hostage, and that'll end the conversation phase immediately. But I want to go ahead and pick it up. So it's going to cost us 3 conversation points. So I'm going to go ahead and purchase this. Okay, and with 2 conversation points, here's what we can afford. I know I want to pick up one of these for 1 conversation point. What I meant was, and this gives us the ability to re-roll any threat die. This may come in handy. So I'm going to pick up one of these, and since I only have 1 conversation point left after purchasing this, I'm going to go ahead and pick up both of them. You'll want to spend all your conversation points each spend phase. They don't carry over from turn to turn. If you have leftover conversation points at the end of the spend phase, the conversation point counter resets to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up both of these. I'm not sure if I'm going to need them both, but it'll give me an option in case I need to switch a 4 to a success, or just want to cash it back in for its 1 conversation point. So, here's our new hand for the next turn. The 2 we had left from our beginning hand, plus the 3 we just purchased. And at the end of the spend phase, you're going to take your discard pile and place them back into the pool of available cards. Cards that you have played in the previous conversation phase can't be purchased until the next turn. We just used 0 value cards, so in addition to whatever we purchase with conversation points, in our next turn, we can also pick up whatever 0 value conversation cards are in the available pool. With the spend phase now complete, we move on to the terror phase. And it is terrifying. These cards are bad. So, we have to turn over 1 terror card. And this says, I'm growing impatient. Draw and resolve the next red terror card. That's no good. That means we're 1 card closer to the end of the terror deck and the end of the game. We're burning through the terror deck even faster. Make a threat roll. Hostage escape attempt. 1 die. A success means a hostage escapes to safety. A failure means a hostage is killed. Correction, that's 2 die. The threat level is currently at the 2 dice level. I need a success or I have to kill a hostage. Yes! Success. The hostage escape attempt is successful. So, one of the hostages escapes to safety. And that's pretty much the gist of a turn, everybody. Next turn, we would begin a new conversation phase where we would play our cards and discard them and possibly gain more conversation points, do threat rolls, try to bring down that threat level and increase our conversation points, maybe get a hostage released, followed by a spend phase where we get to purchase new cards for the next turn and then replace the available pool with the cards we just finished playing, and then another terror phase. After you've gone through all 10 of the cards in the standard terror deck, the final turn will be the pivotal event, and it's generally something very bad. For example, this one, I'm not buying it. Place your highest cost conversation card back in the available area with no effect. Now, on the last turn during the pivotal event, during that conversation phase, you can spend any number of conversation points you earn during that conversation to purchase new cards and play them during that same conversation. It's sort of your last-ditch attempt to get the last of the hostages released or get that abductor captured or killed before the end of the game. Win conditions of the game are, number 1, you have to rescue at least half of the hostages from the hostage pool. And in addition to that, you must be able to kill or capture the abductor. Now, if the abductor kills over half the hostages, the game is lost immediately. In addition, something else you should know, every abductor has a second in command. So perhaps you want to try to take the abductor out early with a sniper shot. Well, if you don't have all of the hostages released before taking out the abductor, the second in command takes over. He is much less reasonable. And every time the threat level increases, in addition to increasing the threat level, he is also going to kill a hostage. So it's to your benefit to not take out the abductor too early. There's some real depth here, some real strategy, some real brain bending that has to go into your gameplay to try and achieve the most optimal result in this game. One last thing, in addition to the 3 abductors that come with the base game, currently available there are 2 additional Abductor Packs that are available for separate purchase. The Peterson brothers, the head of the Peterson crime family, and Connor Ogden, the disgruntled, disgraced CEO who's taken hostages and is making his different demands. These expansion abductors come with different rules, different conversation cards, a new thing with the Petersons called decision cards, new terror cards. There's really tons of replayability and flavor that you can add to this game with the additional Abductor Packs. However, don't misunderstand, you don't need to get these. I found plenty of replayability with the base game alone. So if you just want to give Hostage Negotiator a try without making too large of an investment, there's certainly no need to get these additional Abductor expansions. They're just nice to have if you decide you really like the game. Okay, well, Hostage Negotiator. I got to tell you, it was the best little solitaire surprise that I've had in a while. I hadn't planned on getting into this game quite when I did, but some recent travel required me to just kind of grab something with a short play time and a small footprint. And I'll tell you what, Hostage Negotiator fit the bill perfectly. It does have a very short play time, 20-30 minutes. Once you're familiar with the game, setup and takedown is just a snap. Minutes. Game lengths varied for me depending on play style between 15 minutes to about 30-35 minutes. And yet it doesn't, it's got that filler game length and setup time, but it doesn't feel like a filler game. There was surprising depth with Hostage Negotiator. At first glance, it may just seem like a decisionless dice roller, but really, depending on how you use your conversation cards, do you want to try to use the conversation card for its stated effect and try to succeed on a threat roll, or perhaps do you want to cash in some cards for conversation points. I also like that option of being able to convert a failure of a 4 into a success at the expense of 2 cards. So converting that failure into a success is going to be expensive. You're constantly adjusting your tactics depending on where that threat level is. If the threat level's low, you're probably going to try to talk the abductor down and get him to release some hostages peacefully. If things are starting to get a little hairy, that threat level is rising, or perhaps the clock is running out with the terror cards, you're going to probably push it a little harder and try to go for those hostage extractions. But yeah, the card play and how you choose to, which way you choose to go in terms of trying to get those hostages released is going to have a big effect on the game. But there's just enough luck here with of course the dice, the terror cards. You're never sure which way things are going to go. The luck factor here is just right. Just enough to keep you on your toes, but there's enough gameplay skill involved to offset that luck, or at least mitigate it to some degree. Really tight little game. Short rule set, quick play time. Games are tense, exciting, fun. Gameplay is quick. You never feel bored. Excellent little thematic solitaire. I was really impressed. I do have one gripe though, and I don't know, depending on what kind of gamer you are, this may really bother you. But one of the victory conditions is that half of the hostages must survive. You must be able to get at least half those hostages released and get the abductor, either eliminate the abductor or get them to surrender peacefully. Once you reach that 1/2 number, you begin to realize that it really doesn't matter whether or not you get those hostages released or whether the abductor starts killing hostages. In fact, sometimes, depending on the threat level, it behooves you to let the abductor go ahead and kill a few people off when the game clock is running out and you're running out of time. So there's a bit of a thematic break there that I had a problem with, but it's something that I think is pretty easy to house rule your way around. But really, other than that, it's a tight little game, good depth to the gameplay. Really a surprise, a lot more enjoyable than I thought it would be. Good job, Van Ryder Games. I'm really having a lot of fun with this. I think this is going to hit my table often. So yeah, that was Hostage Negotiator. designed by A.J. Porfirio and published by Ryder Games. If you'd like to see more of my reviews and more game playthroughs, I hope you'll head over to my YouTube channel. And if you'd like to find out what I'm going to do with this extra brand new shrink-wrapped copy of Hostage Negotiator, I hope you'll head over to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, stick around, fun stuff to come. That's going to be it for me for today. That's going to be it for Hostage Negotiator. Thank you for joining me, everybody, and happy gaming.